everybody. Welcome to the most exciting, the most fantastic panel session that you will see this afternoon. Yes, I can see you're all really excited for this. Well, what we're going to do now is we are going to explore the wonderful world of technology delivering nature-positive outcomes. And what does that mean to the world of mining and raw materials? I'm joined by a fantastic panel who we have here. My name is Dr. Sarah Gordon. I'm originally an exploration geologist, but I now spend my life in the world of sustainability. But what I'm going to do is invite our panelists to each just take 10 seconds to introduce themselves. So, Dr. Osama, would you like to kick us off? And then we're going to go to Dr. Stacey.
Sure, thank you, Sarah. My name is Osama Fagiha. I am the Deputy Minister for Environment, the Ministry of Environment, Water and Agriculture in Saudi Arabia.
Thank you very much. Stacey.
My name is Stacey Hope. I am the Managing Director of an organization called Women in Mining, but relevant to the conversation, I'm a partner in a sustainability consultancy firm focused on climate solutions called ERM.
Thank you, Stacey. Didier.
My name is Didier Zimmermann. I'm the Business Development Director of an organization named EIT Raw Materials, that stands for European Institute of Innovation in the raw material sector, and minerals and metals. And we are an organization of mostly 600 members.
Thank you, Didier. Ellie.
Good afternoon, Alison Atkinson. I'm the Group Director for Projects and Development at Anglo American. And the development bit is really around technology and how we use technology to improve and deliver our mining operations.
And Kimmo.
Good afternoon. I'm Kimmo Tiilikainen, Director General of Geological Survey of Finland, GTK, and we are not only doing geological survey, we are also working with processing and beneficiation.
Thank you very much. So perhaps if you want to give a round of applause for our fabulous panelists. Excellent. You've got to get that applause in early, basically, to make sure it happens. But Dr. Osama, I'm going to come to you first, and I would just like you to perhaps explain to us what does this title actually mean to you? Because all of us can interpret it in different ways, but what does that technology delivering the nature positive outcomes actually mean?
Well, thank you. And I think really, whether mining or industry or energy or others, really deliver wonderful things to make our life easier, better. Whether communication, mobility, medical services, housing, accommodation. But also we rely on nature for that. We get our minerals from nature. We get our fresh water, we get a lot of our needs from nature. Our food comes from there. So we need to be mindful of how we do things because, now the average person today consumes 300 times more material than a person who lived a few decades ago, just to provide for the amenities we need. The mobile phone, the laptop, the car, all of that, the furniture. So it comes at a price. And also, during the manufacturing, we produce chemicals and other material in amounts and type that the nature does not have mechanism to deal with. Nature always works in cycles. We get the raw material, we use it, we give it back to nature, and nature basically reprocesses it. And you find this in the life cycle of water and the life cycle of animals and others. This doesn't apply to human processes, where we are actually taking materials and basically use it and send it back to nature, where we actually now extract a lot from material in an unsustainable way, and we are giving waste. So, and I think now nature positive, in the extraction processes, we need to extract more efficiency, because now to extract certain material, we have a lot of product that could be, we could extract 1 kilogram of useful material for a ton of use. So we need to have made our extraction more efficient. That for each ton extracted, we use most of those. In the utilization, we need the material, once it comes to the use, be reused and reused again. So I would like to see the mining industry become into the material industry, giving the society the material, whether it is mined or recycled. So I think the biggest recycling company should be mining, because they deliver the material that we much need it. But we need to reuse the materials more and more and more. And I think we need to give back to nature. Again, if we look at, for example, land, we have in the last few hundred years, 2 billion hectares of land has been degraded due to mining, improper agriculture, improper urban development, others. The outlook by 2050, we're talking about 6 billion hectares of degraded land. So this generation, God forbid, will be degrading more lands than what degraded in the last 2,000 years. So we have to be mindful of our technological capabilities has two sides, not only give amenities to our life and comfort, but has a lot of negative impact to nature. So I think putting nature in mind in all the processes and try to really have positive interaction with nature, that's very important. Why? Because the ecosystem services that we get for free is double the size of our GDP, about $140 trillion per year of ecosystem services. Now, if we utilize natural resources unsustainably, we have less resources to use, and it will be more costly for us to produce and live. So we have to be mindful for that. And I think innovation and technology is a great enabler for us to achieve that.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Dr. Osama. Maybe perhaps if I come to yourself, Alison, and from a company perspective, so Anglo-American engaged in some fantastic projects and also the development and use of lots of technology. What does this mean to you?
So from our perspective, when we're looking at developing either a greenfield or a brownfield site, being able to keep things in balance and very much of the ecosystem is really at the forefront of our development process. Mining and the extractive and the processing system is very energy intensive. It can be environmentally damaging the way it can be done, and historically we have a lot of history that shows us that we haven't always been as considered. And it can create noise, dust, and it's difficult to live around. So when you're really looking at the development of our mines and including our brownfield sites, it's really clear to us, and we spend time thinking and working through and putting in those solutions that minimizes our energy use and operations, the consumption that comes from that. We really look at how we reduce the amount of water that we use, reducing abstraction, recycling. We will invest in desalination plants such that we're not taking water from the communities and not taking water from the biodiversity that we have around our sites. And we also make investments in compensating for that too, because there has to be balance, and I agree around the ecosystem is absolutely critical. Technology also allows us to support broader than just the industrial process itself. It allows us to provide and build up expertise around our sites through education, through the next generations who are going to want to and be part of that. What's a really good job in terms of mining. Interesting. And with the new technology coming through, that only just raises the tide when it comes to the expertise that's required and solving the problems that society requests us to do. Because frankly, without mining, whether it's new extraction or recycling, we don't get to do the energy transition that we all know that we need to get to. So I see technology as something that really gives us an edge, and from a business perspective, actually can give you a first mover advantage in terms of what you're trying to achieve. And that's good for the industry as well, by leading by example and by getting that balance right, and it always will be. So that's probably what I think about that title.
Thank you, Ali. So technology can lead to that not only competitive advantage, but huge amounts of development, perhaps, within the country, the communities in which we're working. And Stacey, perhaps if I come across to yourself from a social science background, so myself, I'm a scientist, I'm surrounded by engineers and people like that every day.
We're not that bad.
In my professorship at Imperial College. But Stacey, from that social science background, where do people come into this?
Yes, and it's a great question and a great point that you've raised, Alison, in terms of that the balance in the ecosystem. It's not just about the environmental or the nature and biodiversity outcomes, but it's how do we ensure that people are taken along the journey? I must warn everyone that I am an anthropologist, so it gets very philosophical and sometimes spiritual with some of the things that I say, but in terms of what I've seen, especially recently, there's a growing demand for communities to be a part of nature-positive solutions for mining. But they're often left out of the discussion because we somehow disassociate technology and innovation with communities. And for me, this is where we see a great disconnect, because communities are very much a part of that ecosystem, and they often know where the barriers and challenges are to sustaining it and where we can actually develop and grow. So there's a very interesting incubator that's happened and that's continuing to happen, where we invite communities and young innovators in biodiversity solutions to, especially for the mining sector, to pitch and to go and test. So they're funded to test these innovative solutions in order to see, well, what works, what resonates with the communities. But these have to be built with the communities and all the various stakeholders involved. And what we've seen from this is things that the mining sector have yet to actually hear about. It's about certain types of chemicals that can neutralize and then add value to whether it's desalinating water, but then also creating different ways in which we recycle and use water in different ways that we haven't actually thought about, whether it's breaking it down to the very minutiae of the biological makeup of water to create energy and other things. But for me, it's very much, I see with some mining companies that connection between the communities and technology and innovation, but then there is very much a disassociation. So when we talk about nature positive outcomes, yes, but for whom and to what extent? And where's the value placed?
So value being absolutely key, and often what might be considered as being valuable to one party might not be valuable to somebody else. So trying to find that shared value, I guess, between everybody. Kimmo, perhaps if I come across to yourself, because we're grandly saying technology, being this sort of key to nature-positive solutions, but developing that technology is easier said than done. And I know that at GTK, you've been building some fantastic facilities that actually allow us to develop some of this technology that can then be deployed across the sector. Do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, thank you, Sarah. So GTK has defined our purpose, what we are working for. Simple. We are helping society and companies to accelerate the transition to sustainable and carbon neutral world. And that means that we are straightly, for example, working with energy transition, supporting nuclear development, offshore wind power, geothermal energy, and hydrogen things. But then, in any case, we need a lot of materials to do this energy transition, and having more need of materials can't mean that we are at the same time disturbing more natural resources or nature. And therefore there is great need to improve material efficiency. And instead of just bringing new technological innovations, we must first have the thinking behind of the mining sector, that we try to optimize the whole life cycle of mines, starting from the deposits. Material efficiency starts of thinking the deposit, that it's not only beneficiating a couple of valuable metals, but also thinking, can we use the extracted material for other industries like construction and building products. So maximum amount of products with the extracted material. But then when we come to the processing side, so I show you just one slide. Hopefully it comes here. It doesn't come.
If we can get the slide up, that would be fantastic.
Anyway, when we are waiting the slide up, I tell you that TTK has very unique laboratory pilot plant facilities, and in there we are doing not only characterization of the deposits, but we have processing laboratories to develop the very efficient beneficiation. But when I talk about the life cycle, there is growing need to develop technologies how to recycle water, how to purify the water, and how to also manage the waste, the tailings. And that brings the whole life cycle, so that more materials, less waste, better recycling of water, and waste that is easier to manage without disturbing nature. So this life cycle thinking can make the nature positive contribution. The slide that we are missing, I try again. It was just to give you the scale of our research and pilot plant laboratories, because we have also industrial scale pilot plant to do this testing work to serve. Yeah, now we have it. So there you can see our laboratory is right there, the new one that we started this year in the right side of the picture, then the old one are the middle. The industrial pilot plant is on the left side. We have our own tailings area. We have elevated the walls and dams for the next 20 or 30 years needs. And something very special is the smart test field for tailings behavior, to develop the tailings management. So with these facilities, we can help companies to develop their processing and beneficiation and waste management and recovery of water throughout the process. So with that kind of technology and thinking, we can help companies to deliver nature positive things, although they are growing their production.
Thank you very much, Kimmo. And I'm sure that the picture we're all looking at on the screen surpasses the glory that was in our imaginations while we were waiting for it to come up. But Didier, from an EIT perspective, you're no stranger to research and developing new technologies either, are you? Do you want to comment on what you think about the title?
Yes. You know, our mission is to support innovation, business creation, education, and access to finance. And each time we do select and support such kind of activities, we are looking at the fact that it should include sustainable practices. And this for each step of the raw material value chain, from exploration to recycling. And a few examples we have is full value mining, meaning you can use the full value of a deposit. We can do it by supporting, and we did by supporting industrial symbiosis project, where you can extract on one side for one commodity for one company, and the other side you can use it for extract for another company, another commodity. We also do support innovation in circular economy, in recyclability, but also in recycling of end-of-life products, in slags, in co-products, and so on. We're also looking and we are encouraging all kind of innovation in the substitution of critical raw materials to avoid use of resources, production of waste. And at last but not least, we also do support reclamation, meaning using legacy mining sites for new activities such as agriculture or new facilities for energy transition. So far, we have invested nearly 600 million euros in such kind of projects to support from early stage startup to industrial scale up. That brings us to nearly 300 new products and services on the market. And we also do support education that goes with respecting environment and diversity.
Thank you very much, Didier. So what we've got here is we've got the willingness and the excitement from the government perspective. We've got industry coming to the table and saying, yes, we're going to make use of the best forms of technology to make sure when we are mining, we're doing it in the best possible way. From a societal perspective, there's this great balance and shared value that we can look for there. And then we have this wonderful world of research saying, okay, how do we discover these new forms of technology? But Didier, you just mentioned a little bit in terms of how much money it costs to actually do this, because this isn't free. Now, you gave us a big sum of money there. Do we need more than that to make this a reality? And then perhaps I'll come to Ali from the industry perspective in terms of how do we convince people that it's a good idea to pay for this? Didier.
Indeed, we need much more. We estimated at EA Raw Materials that if we want to secure the supply of critical raw materials for the 10 coming years, the industry will need to invest in between 8 and 10 billion euros into innovation and into new facilities and so on. And looking at roughly, I would say, 10% of this value that should be invested in innovation, it means that we need to have a large number of nearly 10 billion euros investing in this. Sorry, my first number was wrong. It was 80 to 100 billions. So 10 billion euros is for innovation only. And for this, we have launched a paper recently that supports the raw materials industry for the coming years. You know that there will be in Europe, the FP10 program, the framework program number 10 for innovation, and we have really called for at least 5 billion euros in this next program that will start in 2028 until 2035 to support innovation and tech transfer.
Thank you very much, Didier. So it's all very well investing in research, but at the end of the day, it's a company that actually needs to make it work. And if that technology doesn't work or doesn't quite do what we're expecting, that's quite a big risk to take. How do we embed that trust in those people who are relying on us to get this technology to work? Ali, do you have any thoughts?
So it's a really interesting dilemma, because we know how stuff works today. We know actually how to extract minerals, and we know how to process that for what society needs, what the economies require, what the markets are buying. But it comes at a cost, not just in terms of dollars, but it comes at a cost to as we've been talking around the sustainability, our environmental and our societal expectations. As a company, what you're looking for is, can I trial and develop safely in the stability of my operations that I know how they work? And my premise is if you're not prepared to do that, you're going to stay behind. So there's a competition first mover advantage that comes from this, and being brave enough, and it does take bravery, to actually go trial something in one of your plants. So what we decided to do at Anglo American is we've set one of our smaller mine sites up as a test lab. So we'll do the R&D and partner really, really hard with academia, with national labs, with geological experts, but we will trial it out at scale at our El Soldado site in Chile. We've rolled out the development of our hydraulic dry stacking development. That's so important from a water management perspective, a waste management perspective, and actually from a flooding perspective, which impacts our communities around our sites. We've really test trialed our processing capability so that we can recycle the water and reuse that, so we're not abstracting. But we are prepared to invest and develop, but what we have to be prepared to do as well and say, no, that's not going to work for us, and move on really quickly. Because it's not meeting the credentials of financial economic realities of the commercial world, as well as those principles that we work with, which is around societal and environmental benefit. So that's what companies need to do and to believe, and I believe it must be done in partnership. That's how the best ideas win, right? It's not your idea, It is the collective. And then being able to move that on is actually what makes the difference. But you, as a business, I think Anglo-American is known for this as well, is that technology sort of can set you free in terms of when you're trying to solve for your mining, for your business, essentially.
Thank you, Ali. Kimmo, I know you wanted to come in.
Thank you. So, Future Minerals Forum and the Ministerial Roundtable called for cooperation, worldwide cooperation, and that is one key. And for example, when we are investing to these facilities, the new laboratory, it costs 20 million euros. Now we are planning the new pilot plant, it will cost 80 million euros. And we are offering our services worldwide. It's no sense to do that only within Finnish borders or with our some neighboring countries. But we believe that the need of that kind of research will increase heavily. Of course, every company has at some scale its own research and development. It must have that way. But I think it's not a secret that, for example, in Anglo-American projects in Finland, we are offering services in our facilities for them. So we are very open to cooperate. There's no sense that in each country you are investing 100 million just to build some infrastructure without know-how how to use that. The know-how is even much more important than the infrastructure, and therefore the sharing the know-how, knowledge transfer and cooperation between nations, between research and private companies, that's something that is really much needed to tackle the challenges we have ahead of us.
So what we've got here is sharing that know-how, co-creation, collaboration, people coming together to have those bright ideas that actually allow us to develop this technology, that give us the outcomes we want. Now, Stacey, you work with organizations from many different sectors, not just within this one, and many different organizations. Any hints as to how we can make this easier on ourselves and to get that collaboration to actually work?
Well, we have to convince everyone that who we're talking about, first of all, right? So there's a difference between an Anglo and a lot of the junior and mid-tier mining companies that I'm working with. And oftentimes, the conflict comes from the scaling, right? How do you scale? How do we finance this? For them, it's often a financing question as opposed to a wanting to do better. And getting the financiers on board to actually see it as a viable investment is another part of the equation. I'm not saying that financiers don't want to invest in efficiency, but defining what that efficiency looks like and how that connects and relates to climate resilience models, how does it relate to the bottom line vis-a-vis climate resilience models, is what we need to do a bit more of. We need to convince the mining companies, especially the juniors, that this needs to be a part of your business case. Because in other industries, that's what I'm seeing. But in mining as well, we also need to make the business case for financiers to say, well, actually, from the financial modeling, it makes more sense to invest in this mining company because they are taking this approach and they want to invest and utilize this type of technology. But then we also have to talk about the enabling environment, because policymakers play a very big role in shaping that, in encouraging investors to look towards these climate resilience models as viable ways in which to operate. If the policies state that we need to see more nature-positive solutions, if we're hearing the same similar messages in governments, then we have to invest. We have to change our mining models for juniors, for mid-tiers, but we also have to make it financially viable. So there are many different parts to this. It's what I'm seeing with many clients, especially when you go to the OEMs, but with the mid-tier and juniors, they're like, yeah, but with what money?
Yeah. So you brought into the conversation that enabling environment. And I guess any time you have a breakthrough piece of technology, it requires a catalyst. And I guess the catalyst for all of us being here today is yourself, Dr. Osama. So thank you very much on behalf of all of us here for inviting us to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to have this dialogue. From your perspective, what do you need from the rest of the world to help you optimize this environment in which technology really can help to deliver the nature positive outcomes here within the kingdom?
I think many of what has been mentioned, I think we need to bring the best practices, the know-how. We don't need to reinvent the wheel or establish the research. We have to build on the successes of others, what works in Finland or Australia and others. So we have to really benefit from the know-how. Our job here is to really create a regulatory environment that incentivizes that encourages more sustainable practices. As we heard, it costs money to really be more environmentally friendly, to shift to more innovative solutions. And that puts you at a disadvantage in terms of the cost as well. So the government should level the playing field and reward those companies who invest into environmentally sustainable technologies. Also, governments also has a share in financing innovation by linking innovation priorities to some national also funding schemes, which is we are doing here in Saudi Arabia. We have a national innovation strategy where we are actually providing funds to support some innovation that links to our national priorities. So I think, again, the government is a very important catalyst. It creates the regulatory environment that incentivizes certain behaviors and certain practices. And I think by really putting the right regulatory approach, we can incentivize that. Here also we created something called sectorial coordination committees. So we are establishing coordination committees for mining, for energy, for urban development. And what we do in these sectorial committees is we have the major operators, like in mining. We have the licensor, like the mining ministry. And we have the environmental sector. And they talk about the policies. And they could say, oh, by the way, this environmental policy is really killing us. We cannot meet with this now, but we can meet in 5 years. So we need to put a roadmap. So it's really a journey that have the government on one hand and the sector on the other hand to work together. It's not something we're going to reach in a delta function, It's a journey, and journeys towards sustainability, toward more nature, and we have to bring all the factors together, whether it's NGOs or the innovators or the major operators and the government in dialogue. We as a government, we cannot sit in a closed room and put policies without listening to the industry and see what can be done, what the technology is delivering, and how can we have the journey not only technologically viable, but also economically feasible as well. Because the economics, if it's not economical, it is not sustainable. It will not work. And that's what we need to work together on this format.
Brilliant. Thank you very much. Isn't it fantastic when you see all of these different component parts coming together? I think those of us who live and work in other parts of the world can certainly learn something from yourself. So with that, everybody, I hope that you have had a very enjoyable session here today. If you want to hear more about what each of our wonderful speakers are up to, I'm sure you can catch them immediately after this conversation now. But please join me in putting your hands together to say thank you for our lovely panel. Thank you very much.